So with all the chatter going around about Pedri and Bellingham, who's better? Bellingham obviously having won a Champions League, Pedri having won a La Liga. Also, Bellingham has won a La Liga. Bellingham with his stat padding, Pedri with his wizardry. There has been a debate now that is forming in the realm of Twitter and incels online about who is the better player between Pedri and Bellingham.
With that being said, welcome back to another episode of the Basement Ballers. You guessed it, we're debating whether Pedri or Bellingham is the better midfielder or player.
I would say player because, as I will say later, I feel like calling Bellingham a midfielder is disingenuous to this whole debate because he's clearly not a midfielder. So,
Facts. Well, perhaps then we should start by structuring the debate a little bit by giving you guys a little bit of an inside scoop as to Bellingham and Pedri, who they are as players. Bellingham being the player who is, in terms of market value, definitely a hotter target. GA wise, if you guys are those kinds of guys, he has more goals and more assists. I'm pretty sure. For both international and at the club level. Bellingham also being a player who's played in the German league and in La Liga, of course, for Real Madrid. Pedri, I think he went on a loan move to.
He wasn't on loan. He was at Las Palmas. He's from their academy. He's from the Canary Islands, and then he joined Barca. And also, one needs to talk about the context in which both of these players joined their team. So Bellingham had come off a successful, I think it was 2 or 3 years at Dortmund where he almost won the league, lost it on the final day, but he did win a German Cup and also grew as a player, obviously going from Birmingham to.
I think he also won
Dortmund.
the best player that year.
Of the Bundesliga, yeah, possibly. Could have.
Yeah, I think he was, yeah. But anyway, go on.
But basically, the context is that Pedri joins Pedri joins a team that was very dysfunctional, having just lost 8-2 to Bayern during COVID. He was also, I believe, 17, so he's very young. And he was thrusted immediately into the midfield by Ronald Koeman, and they milked him dry that year. That was the year where he played 70-something games, and he looked basically dead on his feet in that one picture of him at the Olympics. Then Bellingham joining a team that had not won a trophy in 2023, however, had been La Liga and Champions League winners the year prior, and also already had a pretty good team with Vinicius, Rodrigo, still Modric and Kroos was there, etc., etc. So it was, to say the least, a more welcoming environment than the one Pedri joined. Now, that is the team context. But if we look at in a wider scale, so most of the times that Pedri and Bellingham have played against each other, I don't have the exact head-to-head matchup, but if we look at this year, for example, Pedri and Bellingham played twice, and Pedri's won both times. Last year in El Clasico, Madrid won twice, including the Super Cup. So Madrid, I think, won 3 games last year, and Barca won 2 games last year. So head-to-head in La Liga, Bellingham has the edge. However, if you include international play, well, Pedri has beaten Bellingham in a European final. Granted, Pedri was injured, but he still managed to make the team of the tournament, I believe, and was one of Spain's best players. And one of the reasons why they made the final in the first place. And Bellingham, for all accounts and purposes, kind of flopped in the final. He was subbed off, I believe, in like the 70th minute for, I think, Cole Palmer, I believe. And one could say that Pedri has a La Liga, Bellingham has a Liga and a Champions League, but Pedri has also won with his country, something Bellingham has not. So, Karim, what do you think about all this information I just spewed to you?
Yeah, so I think, especially after the Euros on an international level, despite Bellingham having more goal contributions, it doesn't really matter because Pedri, when you watch the two play for their countries, you can tell that Pedri is superior, in my honest opinion. Now, obviously, listen, a lot of people classify Bellingham, I guess, these days as like an attacking midfielder. Some even go as far as to say he's kind of like a false 9, down the middle kind of player, striker, almost. But if you're talking about, like who had more of an impact on the international level for their team, it's Pedri, despite being injured. I think Bellingham, he had a couple of moments, obviously the bicycle kick in that Euros, and, England wasn't very good. I mean, somehow they made it to the finals, but they weren't very good. And he, amongst that trash, perhaps he shined a little bit brighter just because he was amongst trash. But imagine you're Pedri and you're playing alongside Rodri, Lamine Yamal, Nico Williams at the time was doing really well. You're playing amongst all these players. and you're still able to provide and shine amongst basically diamonds, right? Which is very hard to do. The other thing is that, let's say for the sake of this debate, you do want to just call Bellingham a midfielder. I think that it's disingenuous to judge any midfielder based on their GA.
Yeah, because Madrid fans had Modric. Well, they still have Modric and Kroos at their club for the last decade. And Modric and Kroos are not. They literally never stacked GA. Kroos, I think, his best productive season is probably less than like 15 to 20 GA. Same with Modric. Like Modric's Ballon d'Or winning season, I believe, had 12 GA.
Not even just that,
So-
but you know, what do people call Pedri? The Iniesta regen, no? Iniesta is not a GA merchant. But,
Exactly. And
but a lot of people think that Iniesta, if not the best midfielder of all time, the second best behind Zidane.
And the thing is, as well, is that if you look at Bellingham, a lot of the positions he takes up are very forward. What I will say, Bellingham has the edge over Pedri, is that Bellingham does score more goals, yes. And I do actually believe that even if Pedri were to push up more forward and was more of an attacking midfielder, Bellingham would still get more goals based on the fact that Bellingham is just more of a physical specimen of a player. He's 6'3", he's tall, he runs pretty fast, he's physical, whereas Pedri's more of a diminutive player. But if you compare them strictly as midfielders, which people love to say Bellingham is, even though his position does not really indicate that in Madrid's team, well then one only needs to look at how they play. Pedri is a better passer than him. He can control the tempo of a game better than Bellingham. He's better in tight spaces than Bellingham. He's a better crosser of the ball. He's better in a lot of aspects that a midfielder should be good at. Now, if you want to say Bellingham is a better attacker than Pedri, then yes, obviously. But that's also because, as I said earlier, he does play in a way more advanced position. Pedri in Xavi's first few months of the 21-22 season, when Xavi first came in, Pedri single-handedly won Barca 15 points that year. That's 5 games because he scored the game-winning goal in all those games, and most of those games were 1-0s that Pedri only scored in. The one that I can think of vividly is the one against Sevilla, where it was like the 75th minute, then he pulled one from outside the box and scored. So he has shown that he could score more goals if put in a more advanced position. It's just that that's not how he likes to play. That's not where the team puts him. So my opinion, it comes down to personal preference, obviously, about who's better. I just think that if you're comparing them strictly as midfielders, Pedri is better. And also on a technical level, Pedri is better. I just think Bellingham has used his physicality to his advantage, and that's why he's been able to stack up so many stats.
And I think Bellingham's build lends more to an attacking type, which obviously sort of translates to the GA, and those are cool. Bellingham does have more personal accolades than Pedri.
Yes.
But that is also, I mean, I guess that speaks to the fact that like midfielders are very rarely recognized, especially now. Like you saw how like when Rodri won the Ballon d'Or, and people were like, "Oh, well, you know, it's very rare for like a midfielder to be recognized the way that like midfielders like Pedri are, right?" Because the way that I like to see my midfielder is like you really need to be watching the game to see the kind of impact they have with, you know, how they react on the half turn, how they win the ball back, how like their vision. I think Pedri's vision is better than Bellingham's. I think Pedri's ability to like create space and find openings is better. It doesn't translate to the score sheet, of course not. But again, it's like one thing you really have to watch him play. But saying all of this, right?
Yes.
And you know, we know how Pedri is, but Bellingham's market value is higher than Pedri's. And do you think that is related to the fact that he plays for Real Madrid, the fact that he scores more, assists more, or the fact that Pedri is injury prone?
I think it's for the 3 reasons you just listed, but also I think it's for and I know it sounds funny, but it's for a looks reason. I'll tell you why. Okay. Madrid is known to be a very superficial club in terms of how their PR and how they like to market themselves. Fun fact, they didn't sign Ronaldinho because they thought he was too ugly to be a Madrid player. So I mean it when I say looks plays a factor, because we can all admit, look, Bellingham is 6'3", light-skinned, handsome-looking guy. That plays a factor in it. He's obviously English as well, and English, PR. We all know how English PR works. That's another reason why. And also the fact that, he is more consistent in the sense that, he doesn't get injured that much. And Pedri, outside of this year and his first year at Barca the last 3 years, has been pretty injury-prone. So there's that. And also, GA pops out more than obviously pass percentages or the fact that Pedri can make like kind of a dummy run that will leave another man open that could lead to a goal. All these things aren't really factored into like I'd say the transfer market. So Bellingham is higher rated there, like is worth more money solely based on the fact I personally believe that he's English, and two, because of his stats. And also, like I said earlier, the looks and the PR does play a factor in it. But I mainly think if Bellingham was like, I don't know, maybe Italian, I think his market value and his hype would be slightly less, personally.
I think so too. And I think, listen, one thing that I'd say Bellingham has over Pedri is clutch moments.
Mm-hmm.
And clutch moments get more PR. And everybody wants the picture of the clutch moment. What he did to score against Barcelona last season to win them the game.
Yeah, last year he got a lot of last minute winners.
A lot of last minute
or
winners.
equalizers. So yeah,
his like PR was absolutely insane last year. This year a little less just because of what Mbappe, whether he was playing bad or whether he's playing good. But Mbappe has been a lot more of the focus.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Bellingham's PR is a lot higher than Pedri's.
Mm-hmm.
So then, basically, I think as a concluding remark from everything that I said, if you ask me, Karim, do you want a number 8? Give me Pedri. Okay, you want a box to box? Give me Pedri. Karim, you're not scoring enough goals. You need a more attacking player. You need a striker. Then obviously, I'll probably take Bellingham.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Bellingham is a player that suits. I feel like Pedri's the type of player you can plug into any system and he works. I feel like Bellingham only suits a certain system. I feel like he only suits a system where he has more of an attacking license, because Bellingham, as just if he played the same role as Pedri, I'm not saying he would be bad at it, but he wouldn't be as good as Pedri. And a player like Pedri can slot into any system in the world, whereas Bellingham, I feel like you need to have a system kind of around him, which is why I feel like down the road, having him, Mbappe, Vinny, and Rodrigo on the same team will end up failing. One of them will get sold. I think it's Rodrigo personally, but that won't work long term. But we'll have to see, because Mbappe is scoring a lot of goals and stuff, and they did win yesterday, but Vinny was not playing. So we'll have to see.
We will have to see. And so, I guess this is like an off question, but you have Pedri versus Bellingham. Again, a topic you've mentioned is kind of like been debated between the incels of Twitter and TikTok and such. What is this like debate like you could compare to it, with the debate from the past?
For me, I feel like this is like when people try to compare Lampard to like Scholes, because Lampard was like the Bellingham. He would get a lot of goals. He was always in the box. He was always making late runs into the box. But then Paul Scholes more of a Pedri. He was a distributor. Like he would be the one like dictating play, blah 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 blah. I feel like for a Premier League fan, you can think of that. I feel like maybe a past debate more recently to our times you could think is maybe, I'd say...
Let's say Barca Real Madrid debate.
I'd say it's like the debate people had between... I don't know, actually. Maybe... I don't know. I feel like the easiest debate I can think of right now is Salah and Hazard. It's the same thing. It's like kind of like... Salah gets the more GA, but then like Hazard's play style, some people like more and could say it's more effective because he does stuff that Salah can't, but also Salah has the GA over Hazard, so you could say he's more of an impactful player. And I feel like it's the same kind of thing when you have Pedri and Bellingham, but it all comes down really to personal preference. I just feel like in general, if you love the game and like the aesthetics of the game and like pure football, Pedri.
Was Modric and Iniesta ever really a debate?
Is for Madrid fans.
Okay. Well, let us know what you guys thought about everything that we discussed today. Of course, everyone has a preference. I think me and Brahim definitely, I would say, like, for my team, I would prefer to have Pedri. But I want you guys to let us know, first of all, what team do you support and why would you pick a certain player to have on your team? Pedri or Bellingham? And then let us know, of course, what you thought about every single talking point that we had today in the comment section. We're usually pretty good at reading comments and, like, replying and stuff like that. Our socials and everything will be in the description, so check us out there. TikTok, Instagram, X, whatever you guys want to do.
Twitter. It's Twitter.
And without further ado, guys, we'll see you on the next video.